I'd like to call a meeting to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Belsley.
Here.
Blunier.
Here.
Dobb.
Here.
Hare. Herman. Kaufman.
Here.
Rainson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There are no public hearings, no presentations that I'm aware of. I'll ask the press if they'd like to make a public comment. There being none, could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second? Second by Don. Any discussion? There being none, please call the question.
Belsley.
Yes.
Blunier.
Yes.
Dobb.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
I had a report I was going to make, but turns out it's a little premature. There are issues between the Peoria-Pekin Urban Area Transportation Committee and the Tri-County Regional Planning Committee. They act as the contract manager for the Peoria-Pekin Group, which is the Metropolitan Planning Organization. The issues are still being negotiated, so I won't report tonight, but just to let you know why it was even on the agenda is I'm the chairman of the MPO, and Craig Loudermilk is the chairman of the technical committee that makes the analysis for our group. So Morton is somewhat influential in where the highway money goes. And some months ago, the Federal Highway Department and IDOT came to me and asked me to prepare some procedures to make sure that in future our committee approved every use of highway funds. Apparently, a little while back, some of them went in the wrong direction. And so we're in the process of sorting that all out right now, and I'll give you an update in the future. With that, I'll move to the village clerk.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Village administrator.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Chief of police.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Corporate.
I actually do have something tonight. The one thing I have under my section is a proposed ordinance which would adopt a policy complying with the Local Government Travel Expense Control Act. This is new state legislation which required you to adopt a policy governing and regulating reimbursement to employees and officers of village travel. So the policy would allow for reimbursement without advance board approval of up to $1,000. Reimbursements would work through department heads. Any reimbursement for board or mayoral travel would have to be approved at an open public meeting of the board, which is required by state law. There's a standardized form for submitting expenses. The essential kind of thrust of this, we had to do it to comply with state law, but we tried to do it in a way that's most consistent with your present practice. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Bill, can we have a motion to get it on? I'll move. Who moved? Seconded by Bambi. Any questions? Call it.
Blunier.
Yes.
Dobb.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Belsley.
Yes.
Director of Fire and Emergency Services.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Planning and Zoning Officer.
Two items tonight, Your Honor. Both are pertaining to the same property in Groveland. It's a tavern, and they're asking for a variance. And the variance is to expand this non-conforming use that's been a tavern. I don't know for how long it's been there, but for a number of years. They want to add a pavilion adjacent to the existing tavern, and it's adjacent to a residential area around it. So the other thing they need then is to have a special use to expand their existing special use. So I am talking to Crystal at Tazewell County. The parking lot that they're going to serve this facility with is going to be gravel. And that's okay with the county code. It wouldn't meet our code. And I can't imagine, I'm not speaking for you folks, but I can't imagine that we would approve the use of this outdoor covered pavilion that they would have, I don't know, weddings and what types of things they would hold there with neighbors around it. I don't know, I said, I don't have a good feeling about it. If that came in through our plan commission to our village board, I can't imagine that they would approve that.
Now, is this up for approval, or are you just filling?
This is, they're meeting tomorrow. They'll meet to discuss this tomorrow. So they would welcome any input that we would have back to them, and I can write that and get it to Crystal at Tazewell County, whatever your thoughts are.
You can see how it's upsetting me.
Yeah, had a pretty bad effect.
Does anyone have a comment they'd like to make?
Well, I think when you're looking at a 5,000 square foot building with bands and that next to the neighborhood, I think you're asking for trouble. I mean, a wedding might be one thing, but it could be other things. And I think that's a little bit big. A tavern is one thing, but it's not connected to the tavern. It's a separate building.
Has anybody asked for feedback from the neighbors about what they think about it?
If there was any feedback, it probably went through Tazewell County, not to me. I don't typically get those. But in short, Rod, this property is within the 1.5 miles in our planning boundary. So therefore, we're contacted since Groveland is unincorporated. If they were incorporated, like Tremont or Mackinac, then we wouldn't be hearing on these cases. They would be deciding them, so. I wish they kind of would be, then we would be out of the mix of it, but,
Roger, I have a question about the
Mhm.
process. This will go to the Tazewell County Zoning Board.
right.
Then do they have the final say, or will that go to the Tazewell County Board for,
Uh, I should be able to answer that, but I'm not certain.
well, I guess I'm just wondering, I think
they have the
that,
final say on it. Pat, do you know?
I believe that.
Yeah, I think that's the way,
similar to our zoning
like
board would
ours,
have the.
yeah.
Correct. Well, at our zoning board, the plan commission makes recommendations for special uses.
Right.
Those come back to you. Variances,
Right.
the zoning board
But
has
for the
final.
zoning, unless it's like within the interstate
corridor.
corridor,
Correct.
they would have the final say.
Correct.
So at this meeting, you said it's going to be tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, right.
So that would be the opportunity for testimony from concerned neighbors.
Right.
So that process hasn't really played out yet as far as, but that would also be the opportunity where they would read our statement.
Yes, and they do. When I've written them in the past, they've read them, so.
What would you recommend as far as if we were to make a statement? Would you say that, would you go into specifics as to why this would not work within village or
Yeah,
Morton
I
limits?
think, the fact that it's that close to residential property, I don't think it would be approved here, and I could say that. In terms of the parking lot, I would still point out to them that if it were in Morton, it would not be a gravel parking lot. But even though it meets their code, but still, they're asking for, now's your time, it's now or never, so.
Right.
Unless you have some other specific things that you would want to see included, I can certainly do that.
Not necessarily, but I do understand that there could be concerns. I mean, the information they provided is that the neighbors are used to having a tavern there.
Right.
But to Jeff's point, this is a little bit of a different animal in regard to,
But to put it in
Potential.
perspective, it's almost the same size as my office building on Detroit, putting it there. My office is 60 by 100. This is 50 by 100. That's a big building. That entertains, I don't see how they have enough parking for a 5,000 square foot building.
It sounds like the parking, at one time, they must have had something worked out with that. I don't know, it's some kind of a repair garage. It's on the corner of Springfield Road and 98. But now it sounds like they can no longer use that, so I don't know what transpired there, but, so that's what probably pushing them to expand that parking lot to the west now with this gravel parking lot.
I think if we have the opportunity to weigh in, we should use that opportunity and just mention what our concerns would be if it were within our jurisdiction.
Would you be comfortable if I, in writing that letter, said that if that were to come to our board, that they would not approve such a use, or, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to.
Well, I don't know how firm to make that statement, other than, because it's non-conforming, right? Because of the
Right.
gravel driveway, there's issues.
But if you check Groveland, I mean, I wouldn't know if the gravel's got much to do with it. Most of the parking lots and drives in Groveland are gravel.
Well, I agree,
Right.
but it is a non-conforming, which is why it complicates it, I would say.
And it might be not, the other thing, it's probably because of that, how close it is to that commercial is probably part of the reason it's non-conforming as well. So now that they're
Okay.
going to expand it even further and make it, it'd be like if you had a non-conforming building, didn't meet the setback here, and you want to add on to it, you'd have to come and get a variance to expand that non-conforming building. So,
I think it might be, I'd be kind of uncomfortable with saying the board would not approve that. I mean, we haven't taken a vote, so we don't really know that. I mean, you could say some of the board members were dubious, but we don't really know how our board would react to that.
we could ask, I mean,
I think maybe language such as, the village would have serious concerns about this and it would require serious deliberation or whatever. I agree with you. I don't think we can say, or should say, but we'd be on the record, should the case ever come that it does fall with our jurisdiction, that we had issues with it, I guess, maybe.
And I think it'd be fair to state that you would recommend the county board approval or disapproval without having to state hypothetically how you'd act if it was in your boundaries. It
Okay.
seems to me, obviously, the county board would consider, county zoning board's going to consider whatever evidence is produced in front of it. But
Right.
if you have concerns about its approval, I think it'd be fair for Roger to state, and the county seeks recommendations, I think it'd be fair for him to state the village recommends the county board, the zoning board not approve of the request.
Well, can he say that without us taking some kind of a vote?
Because it's not a formal action, it's merely a recommendation. You wouldn't have to vote, it's on the agenda, so you can vote tonight if you so chose. But because you're making a recommendation only, it would not necessarily require an affirmative vote on your behalf. It's not any official action.
Could we just state we have concerns to the proximity of the neighborhood
Yeah, I mean, that.
and the parking? There's
that's fine.
only 37 parking spots.
Well, I think you phrased it a minute ago, Ginger, that we'd have serious concerns. We'd look into it. I just hate to say in advance, this is what the board would do. Well,
Well-
we don't really know that.
We could make the statement that it would not conform to our zoning laws, right? Because of the parking issues and the proximity.
right,
Correct.
If it were in the village of Morton, it would not conform.
right.
I don't know. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth either. I just think that it wouldn't be harmful to go on the record not knowing what all will transpire at that meeting. But, it is under their jurisdiction at this point, so it'll be up to them to make the final.
I kind of agree with what you said, and that it just wouldn't conform here, but, it's up to them. But it would be unacceptable for us to have it in the village.
I don't think it's a bad idea to go on record with this, that in the event the growth occurs west of our community someday, and there's ever that consideration for annexation or any other issues similar to this, it's not a bad idea to go on record to express our concerns with this. But personally, I'd be a little hesitant of going so far as taking a vote on it. I'm confident we can say that it wouldn't comply with our ordinances. And I think that's been shared, and I would agree with that. I'd rather leave it at that.
I can do that.
Anyone have any other comments to add? Okay. Have you got anything else?
No, sir, that's it.
Village trustees, trustee Belsley,
Nothing this evening?
trustee Blunier,
Nothing tonight, Your Honor?
trustee Dodd,
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
trustee Herman,
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
trustee Kaufman.
Nothing tonight, Don?
We have a little closed session. You can see on your agenda, it has to do with personnel issues and negotiating issues. I would ask the administrator to stay and legal counsel to stay, and everyone else can leave if they wish. We don't anticipate voting on anything. May I have a motion to go into executive?
So moved.
Second. Second by Belsley. Motion. Why don't you call the roll for that? Call the question.
Dobbs.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Kaufman.
Yes.
Belsley.
Yes.
Blunier.
Yes.